I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited. Apple TV did a really good job with Murderbot, and they've got adaptation rights for Cosmere.
Okay, so if you've been living under a rock, the geological rock, not the character rock. If you've been living under a rock, Brandon announced that he's given Apple the rights to adapt the entire Cosmere, not just Mistborn, not just Stormlight,
But it is starting
the
with
entire Cosmere.
Mistborn is getting a movie, and Stormlight Archive is getting a TV series.
So it kind of sounds like I need to update the billing information on Apple so that we actually
have Apple.
Yeah.
That's good
Because after we were done with Murderbot, I just kind of...
Well, I mean...
No, I'm not paying you anymore.
To be fair, that was the one I wanted to watch, so, like, yeah. But, like, I've heard lots of really good things about their, sci-fi fantasy, catalog.
Was
like Silo, Foundation.
Was the Jason Momoa Chief thing, was that on Apple too? Because that also looked really good that I
don't know what you're talking about. I live under a rock.
Right.
Maybe the geological kind. Welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide for the Cosmere curious. And maybe there's some more Cosmere curious folks out there. Anyway, hopefully...
Or it will be soon.
Hopefully there will be soon. This is maybe not the best episode to start with because we're talking about Mistborn Book 5, Shadows of Self, Era 2, Book 2, and we're talking about implications for the rest of the Cosmere.
Well, yes and no. So a little bit of history. The previous book of this era, we had done a separate... Alloy Law. We had done an entire episode, I think, dedicated to the broadsheets. So I do have a little bit of the broadsheets here, so that's not really going to connect to the rest of Cosmere. So the later half will kind of do the Cosmere, but so the first half is going to be spoiler free. So, well,
Shadows of Self spoilers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, these broadsheets, or as we know them, newspapers. If any of you still remember what a newspaper is, it's getting to be that many people do not. But
it's the steampunk version of Reddit.
Okay, I don't know if I would agree with that one, but so intermittently between the different parts, of the book, there is images of this newspaper, clippings from the newspaper, and all of these in the previous book they were different newspapers taking place over time, so you could follow continuous columns or stories from issue to issue. But this one, because the entire book pretty much takes place over the course of one evening,
it's at least 2 evenings.
Whatever, it takes place over such a short period of time that the newspaper that we're looking at is just one newspaper, one issue. Yeah. So that makes it far less interesting. All right. So we're feeling in a feel good mood, right? So we'll start with the feel good stuff. There's definitely some advertisements for SUNY pups. So if anybody
love SUNY pups.
So if anybody participated in the Year of Brandon and got their Kickstarter boxes, you got a SUNY pup it was kind of very cute. It was reversible because you got something that looked like a wolf on one side, and then you got to kind of invert it, and then it was like a skeleton pup kind of a thing, because Khandra use true bodies or other bones, whatever. It looked more like a puppy dog in the news article than like a wolfhound.
Yeah.
But they're called SUNY pups because 10 soon, so SUNY pups.
And famously, in the words of Founding, he was the companion to the Ascendant Warrior,
aka
Vin, and it took the form of a wolfhound when he did that. So
even though he wasn't by her side through like the last book.
He was by her side through thick and thin, her guardian. At least in the mythology.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Some more feel-good stuff. You could hire out a cadmium misting for stodgy board meetings. Wouldn't that be lovely? You could just fast forward. Though honestly, these days you could just play on your phone discreetly. So what a world.
What a world.
You would think that there would be like bylaws in these stodgy board meetings that you couldn't do that, but
I mean,
it's just for fun. There is also a very awesome ad with illustration for a play called A Hero for All Ages.
I love that.
The story of Vin and Elend, whatever. So that was a feel-good stuff. There was some not feel-good stuff, depending on your point of view. in the paper, I think there were quite a few different points where it was pointed out that nobody likes Wax and his ruffian ways.
Oh yeah, well,
even if he does kill the marksman,
and maybe because he kills the marksman, right? But yeah, no, he's a hoodlum, and there were
a nuisance.
Yeah, there was that one about Wax, although that does give us a canonical picture of what Wax looks like, so that's something. So if you're an ebook reader, then you probably missed that portrait. But yeah, because right below that, there's an article about street racing and how terrible that is. And below that one is an article about coin shots and how terrible they are.
That was my next point.
So,
so the nuisance of negligent coin shots. I have to say, I quite agree.
I mean, yeah.
I quite agree. It's kind of up there. It's almost up there with my vendetta against Mistcloaks, but it is a second to Mistcloaks. I mean,
it's like if Spider-Man swinging through New York City didn't have a self-dissolving spider web fluid,
yeah,
and instead he was just punching holes through all these buildings and shit like that, right? Or shooting,
Well, even Marvel kind of addressed this because they talked about it in the later movies, anyways, how Stark had a whole organization and relief fund for all the damage they caused.
All I'm saying is that there's probably a reason we never hear about insurance brokers in the world of Mistborn. It's because I don't think insurance could survive. Or maybe it's essential. I don't know.
There's a lot to put in for an entire world.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you know what? For those who listen to any McElroy podcast, particularly A Marital Guide to
Sawbones?
Yeah, there we go. Sawbones. I remember.
I would say the marital tour of misguided medicine.
There we go. Sawbones. If anybody who listens to Sawbone, whatever.
We have the book.
I'm going to stop trying to say it. There were cure-all ads.
I just flipped
Are you
through
sure
them.
that you read this book? Are you sure?
30 seconds ago. Mm-hmm. I've got the cigars. There's
a cure-all ad in there.
Oh, and there's also exquisite pastries with flakes of atium, which I thought was interesting.
Well, yeah, atium is supposedly
it's
non-existent.
The lost metal.
It's the lost metal. So
wait, where was the cure-all? I mean, some of the ones that you're talking about are like so they're blink and you miss them. Where I'm like, well,
that's why I'm bringing them up so that you don't miss
them. And like the one about having investors wanted investing in electricity. Well,
I think that's just an earmark to the fact that this is a industrial revolution type thing.
Well,
there were also ads for aluminum and doorknobs and locks. So while people are starting to while there aren't any full Mistborn people anymore, there are still quite a few mistings during this era, and to the point where people are still kind of worried and apparently would be interested in aluminum doorknobs and locks. You already mentioned street racing. I kind of had an eye roll for that because Brando didn't take this hard of a stance on modernization in Six of the Dusk. So if anybody who's read Six of the Dusk, or I think the way he talks about modernization there is very different how he talks about it here.
Well, and
which I appreciate having different viewpoints to lenses to look it through.
Well, I was about to say, and it's almost like they're different societies on different ends, different drivers for the modernization, right? Isles of the Emberdark is a story about colonialization.
So Isles of the Emberdark is the new canonical version of Six of the Dusk.
Well, Six of the Dusk is still canonical, right? But it's just
Isles of the Emberdark is a different one. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up.
No, Isles of the Emberdark has Six of the Dusk contained within it as flashbacks. Yeah.
That's right. I'm getting mixed up. There's a lot.
There's a lot. That's why.
This is the first time that he's kind of done like a retcon kind of a thing.
No.
Because the original publishing of Six of the Dusk, he changed some things, so that it would be in canon. Not like
he did that before.
Very small tweaks.
He did that before with Words of Radiance.
Oh, that's true.
In a big way.
At the end of that, I guess.
And if you're talking about just reprinting in a separate format. Well, then, Edge Dancer has the entirety of a chapter from Words of Radiance.
We're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Well, okay.
Anyways.
So, yeah.
Did you find the cure-all?
No, I didn't.
Okay. It's in there.
What was the name of the cure-all?
I don't remember.
What was it made out of? Was it atium? Was it fake adium?
No, I don't think it was adium.
Fadium?
That was a cure-all.
There should be Never mind.
Getting into some of the more of the articles that were more kind of foreshadowing, not just kind of setting up the world building, there was an article of the dam wiping out all of the grain. So that was foreshadowing Bleeder's work of putting pressure on the basin, and kind of food famine and stuff like that. There was a comic of making fun of how Ellendale beats down on New Saren, treating it like an unruly child. I won't get into spoilers for the next book, but that is a bit of foreshadowing that you should pay attention to.
It's laying the groundwork for political tensions.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about Allomancer Jack? Writ large, as well as the sinister
I kind of
Soiree.
find him annoying. Like, I don't actually like Allomancer Jack or the stories, and the fact that I had to go and read a separate novella that was all about Allomancer Jack. I was not happy about that.
Wait, the separate novella? You're talking about the one in Arcanum Unbounded?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's not... You didn't have to, and it's not the same
But if I'm
story
reading
as
the
this one.
Cosmere, then I mean...
Yeah, then I guess so.
Of all of the things to skip, that is something to skip. But
Yeah.
also, like, I have a podcast about the Cosmere, so I did have to read it. But I didn't...
I think the adventures are funny. I think the meta commentary about it, like... Allomancer
It's a little
Jack
too
is not
ridiculous
funny.
for me. The whole thing.
I think the conceit... I like the conceit of the thing. And I like the way it is treated within the story.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Maybe I just
not
like
a
that
fan.
Marassi likes it.
Does she like it, Allomancer
Yes.
Jack?
Yes,
I mean, if
she
she
says
likes
that
stories,
she's a fan.
if
She says that she's a fan of Allomancer Jack.
I guess if she likes stories of wax
And
and Wayne.
that's her whole motivation, was the pulp heroes. I like Allomancer Jack, like the Dawn Shot.
There were also some references to visitors from other worlds. It was just a headline, but it said visitors from other worlds. But it's they show a visual of a masked person. I guess here's a little bit of a spoiler. No, I'm not going to get into it.
No, but
I won't go.
we can describe it for people
For those who have finished,
audiobook
for those who have finished the series, it should be significant of what Nick's about to describe.
Well, it's also there. It is significant, right? Visitors from other worlds. Rarely does the house, but it's the reputable Lady Nissil Savage of New Saren. She was lost in the mountains south of the Southern Roughs, and she came upon a mountain pool of the most perfect blue.
And saw a haunched figure by the pool.
Yeah, with piercing eyes, a face like an otherworldly beast. And the picture here shows somebody with dark marbled skin and a weird, and especially all over their face, right? Does it talk about visage? It doesn't say explicitly mask or marbled skin, but
There's a picture of someone in a mask,
yes,
is there not?
there's a picture of somebody with
a tribal, like a
yeah,
tribal looking mask.
yeah. So
I appreciate you holding up the book for the like one person that looks at the video of
all
this
right,
podcast.
well, still we have dozens of views.
Dozens.
Dozens. Some of our videos even have a like.
Wow.
Wow.
By you?
I won't answer that question.
Okay.
But the answer is no.
Detouring slightly backwards about Gentleman Jack. There are more to the story. You have to
Gentleman
read
Jack
the
is a brand of whiskey. This is Allomancer Jack.
Allomancer Jack. Whatever. You do have to read the stories even if you don't like them like me, because there are kind of significant things within those stories. There's a little detail in there that Wax killed Jack's brother 3 years back in Covingstar.
Was it Jack's brother or the man who was confronting Jack and who thought that Jack was
My
X?
notes are incomplete on this.
Okay. Because I know they were talking about that. You know, I remember the confrontation was, yeah, the ruffian thought that Jack was Wax.
Yeah, so apparently they look similar, presumably. And presumably, like, when you're reading this, particularly in, like, the last book and this book, it sounds fake and made up. Like, oh, they're just making up this story.
Oh, yeah, they're pulp. They're pulp shit.
But then you read this thing about kind of referencing Waxilium, and you're like, well, is this presumably all really happening?
It's like it's tabloid stuff, right? Like there's
I know, but
maybe a nugget of truth, but it all gets distorted.
But you got to figure out what the nugget of truth is, and that's what Brandon's all about.
Yeah.
So you're going to see more of Gentleman Jack and other publications, as we mentioned. Alamancer Jack. Alamancer Jack and other publications. They're also, like, in one of the stories, they're also stealing the Lord Mistborn's clasps of wuzzing.
Right, and that's yes. I thought that was hilarious. Having already read the next book in the series is called The Bands of Mourning, right? So it's
I still don't understand the title. I haven't read this. I find this whole era confusing.
Well, and
particularly the later books.
Right, but like the Lord Ruler's bands or whatever of wuzzing.
Not the Lord Mistborn. The Lord Ruler is an entirely different character.
Yeah. The Lord Mistborn's claps of wuzzing, which I now knew to be counterfeit. It's like, okay, well that's it's just like Alamancer Jack got his wires crossed about what sort of made up, MacGuffin he's supposed to be going for. But like if you look at it like knowing how it all turns out with like the series, it's okay, yeah. There's layers there. So
okay, so let's go into spoilers so we can talk about this fully. Yeah. Go ahead.
Spoilers. Right, so the next book is The Bands of Mourning, where the whole point of the book is they're looking for the Lord Ruler's Bands of Mourning, which was some apocryphal artifact that he dumped a whole lot of investiture into, right? Because he was both a full Feruchemist and a full Mistborn. They talk about it in the next book.
So story Alamancer Jack is supposed to be like kind of foreshadowing this thing, but with slightly different.
There's supposed to be parallels there, right?
Okay, so instead of Alamancer Jack going after the Lord
Mistborn's claps of the wuzzing,
it's Wax going after the Lord Ruler's armbands.
Well, the Bands of Mourning. It's vague about what they are, right? And then in the Lost Metal, we find out that something has happened to the Bands of Mourning. They are no longer have any power in them. So presumably we're supposed to leave the end of the Lost Metal with the recognition that they've been swapped, right? That the ones that they have in Elendil's possession.
I didn't get that at all.
Right. And so when Alamancer Jack is talking about going after the Lord Mistborn's claps of wuzzing, Alamancer Jack is so full of himself and full of shit, right?
Wax, but
well, right, but Alamancer Jack is next level, full of himself, and so like he's the Lord Mistborn's, and the clasps of wuzzing, but it's like, well, what, and the wuzzing of the what, the wuzzing of the was, right? The whole high imperial dialect is all
ridiculous,
pretentious, ridiculous, full of shit, whatever. It's a joke, right? And so this is just a joke with multiple layers on it.
Okay.
And just like all jokes, it really survives being dissected really well, let me tell you.
Well, I didn't make that connection, so I appreciate you pointing that out. And just to go now that we're in the spoiler section.
It didn't make me laugh, but it did make me feel warm on the inside.
I'm sure it did. I just go quickly back to the discussion of the visitor from other worlds and the fact that they came upon a mountain pool of the most perfect blue. Perpendicularity, shard pool, what have you. Is the presumption that's Harmony's perpendicularity, because Harmony is the shard that's on the planet. What we don't know is if there are separate pools, because does Harmony have one pool or does Harmony have two shards because of preservation and ruin?
And then the other thing, and when Shadows of Self came out, the inclusion of the picture of the visitor from another world was a red herring. It was meant to mislead the audience, where you and I, having already read Stormlight Archives, at least the entries that have been out by that point, we saw a figure. No.
Oh.
It was supposed to look like it was supposed to make us think Parshendi. Because it's a creature with like striped patterns all over it, and the headline being creature from another world. It makes you think, oh, I've seen that before. That's from Starlight. That's a Parshendi. But it's not. It's true. A red herring. It's a Southern Scadrian, like yacht. That Brando Sando.
This is why you have to keep up with
playing tricks.
Cosmere, because if sometimes it just doesn't work as well if you
yeah
come in after a bunch of things have been published.
And like the thing about the can you tell a story, that looks to maybe be, well, never mind. I was thinking it was probably something Worldbringers related, but that's a bit of a stretch. But there it is. That's it. There's an article looking for investors in electricity. That's also some foreshadowing for Wayne and the girl he sponsors is a big
The inventor's daughter.
Yeah, and specifically the arrangement to have investors invest in her inventions. Like that's how Wayne gets richer than Wax by the end of the Lost Metal.
Tiny detail.
Well, yeah. At this point, yes.
It's just going to be all over the place every single episode. Going back to kind of, the shard pool and kind of figuring out if Harmony is one singular being or if Harmony is really just kind of operating as two halves, ruin and preservation. I think we see a lot of kind of conversations with Wax in this book that Sazed is very much separate from the shards that he possesses. So we've kind of had this discussion in other Cosmere books that, eventually kind of the host and the shards really kind of become melded to the point that it's hard to distinguish the two, but Sazed is very early on in this kind of hosting process, and that Harmony, that Sazed is still very much separate from the shards, even though it has been hundreds of years. Can
I offer a analogy or a different way of interpreting that?
Yeah.
So like in Mistborn Era 1, we see Ruin, right? But we don't think of him as anything other than Ruin. There's no vestiges left of the personality of the vessel, right? The intent of the shard has influenced Ati so much that there's nothing left.
Of
right?
Ati.
Yeah. And the same is true of preservation, and we see that more on screen in Secret History, where there's, there are characters trying to hold a conversation with preservation, and it's hard, right? Because it is mostly, he is preservation by that point.
Which is a totally different case from where Sazed is at this point. There is still a separation.
But he's still... Like, he's becoming overwhelmed by the intentions of the shards that he holds, right? Like, he has difficulty acting so much, but he still has enough of himself to recognize that and to do something about it. And that's, like, a whole lot of the underlying point of Wax, right?
In his struggle.
Yeah, well, and why Harmony wants Wax to be the sort of Harmony is because Wax can't, or because Harmony can't do anything.
Yeah.
He's too conflicted.
Yeah, his hands are kind of tied. To that point, when Sazed first took up the shards of ruin and preservation, that was the point at which he had the greatest kind of power over the shards, and he got a lot of things done in those first few moments of holding the shards. He
remade the world. He
made the Book of Founding, and he was way too easy on humankind. He pretty much just like detailed exactly how like humankind should advance in generations to come. He kind of outlined it for them, and he was kind of having some second thoughts about having shared that much information with humankind. I forget if I think he mentions that in this book.
I like this as a thought experiment, right? Where, I mean, not to get too philosophical, but there's a big discussion in theology and philosophy about like, hey, how can there be a benevolent God if all this struggle exists in the world, right? And so here, because it's fantasy, Brando set up a world where where we know before he ascends to godhood that we know Sazed's a good guy who wants the best for everybody, right? And we see how he tries to do that and the negative impacts that come with his good intentions.
Harmony made the basin ferociously fecund. That is a direct quote. Like, seriously, Brandon, fecund.
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 I'm supposed to make the jokes around here.
Okay.
I'll allow it. That was good.
But yeah, I think Brandon probably had fun writing that.
If it looks like I'm mad, it's because I am, because I wanted to make the joke, but I didn't think of it.
You weren't going to make that particular joke.
No, because I didn't think of it.
So there's this concept that's popular on Reddit and in the fan base that harmony may not be the right word for the combination of the shards, ruin, and preservation, that perhaps discord is the correct name for this shard pairing. So if we take that discord point of view, did Palm or Bleeder have more insight to discord because of her relationship with the Lord Ruler?
I mean, there's a lot to be said about discord that really kind of makes more sense after Lost Metal. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways of spinning Palm's closeness with the Lord Ruler with harmony afterwards, and then how she suddenly went off the rails.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. Maybe we'll find out one day, maybe not.
Maybe it'll be dressed in a Mistborn movie. I'm still
They're not going to be able to fit half of anything in the...
But maybe they can fit different things in.
I swear to God, if they actually have mist, they're going to have to.
Brandon's
going to insist on the freaking mist cloaks.
The fandom's going to insist on the mist cloaks. They're on all of the fucking covers. They're on the covers.
I'm going to write a petition, get rid of the freaking mist cloaks, redesign them in a way that actually makes freaking sense. Till my dying day, I will fight against mist cloaks. They are an affront.
So I guess I know where you stand on future Cosmere conflicts.
Me a Stormlight cloak. I'll wear that every day. Is it a trope that Wax can have a conversation with God anytime he likes?
I don't know what you mean by that. What?
I don't know. Is that like a fantasy trope, or it's some kind of trope that you can just?
He's in prayer. It's just the only difference is God talks back. Well, he's the chosen one. There's definitely a trope about the chosen one having conversations with God. Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm not well read, so I don't know if there's any other kind of instances that we can just if a character really wanted to talk to God, they could just stick an earring in and talk to God and know that God's there waiting for him.
I definitely...
the only thing I'm thinking of is Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's a good one. Other ones we've seen have more but I mean that's definitely a thing in Greek myths, but it's not a casual thing that the mortal can reach out.
Trials. I mean, because Percy Jackson does go to the Empire State Building and just goes off the elevator.
Yeah, but I mean I'm also thinking in a lot of the media that I've consumed, conversations with God tend to take place at near-death experiences, right?
Right.
So
it's very different to kind of have this kind of interaction. Very Brandon spin on it, I think.
Like I said, I really like the view of Wax's conversations with God being prayer, right? In just a very literal sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also in contrast, Milan talking to the Constable General as a form of prophecy. I thought that was hilarious.
Milan is hilarious. Continuing with the theme of circling back to things, there are passing the wax
organic discussion.
Yes.
We're not
which
aimless. It's organic.
That does circle around a lot. So we were talking about the bands of mourning, but then Wax, passes by replicas of Harmony's bands and the bands of mourning. So let's just make sure we iterate the difference between those. So as Nick said, the bands of mourning belong to the Lord Ruler. They are supposed to grant Allomantic and
Citation needed. As far as we're aware in universe at this point, they belong to the Lord Ruler.
Good Lord.
Because we find out at the end of the next book that they were really the sovereigns, who is
a different person.
Thought to be the Lord Ruler, but turns out not to be.
Yeah, and that was very much on purpose.
Yes. Red herrings on red herrings on red herrings.
There's always another secret. So anyways, the bands of mourning are supposed to grant allomantic and feruchemic powers to whomever wears them because they are unkeyed investiture. Harmony's bands are the metal minds created by Sazed, that they have knowledge only.
Yes, but also because I don't think those are unkeyed, are they, right? Those would still just be able to be accessed by... Unknown.
So there's a lot of bands and a lot of people.
And the clasps of Wuzzing just a side reference in a tabloid or article meant to be taking the piss out of itself.
All it is to say, if you can manage to keep it straight, there is a difference between Harmony's bands versus the bands of mourning. Okay, there's a quote in the book that says, Harmony had assembled many different refuges of people as he remade the world, placing them all in the same area that is now Ellendale.
Well,
lies.
Yeah.
Just lies. Which, is that covered in that? Is that?
Yes.
Going over some of the, kind of moving into talking about the magic, the allomancy and metallic arts. They keep referencing a hemalurgy book. Remember, that's the book that Marsh gave to Marasi on Harmony/Sazed's orders. So it's very convoluted because Harmony told Marsh to give Marasi the book to give to Wax. So they were like, Marsh and Marasi were the middlemen.
Right. And the book was written by Spook against Harmony's wishes.
Spook, a.k.a.
the Lord Mistborn.
The Lord Mistborn, a.k.a.
Lestaborn.
And he wrote the book because he was upset that Sazed didn't put it in the Words of Founding.
I mean, to be fair, it is, I don't know, I've got mixed feelings. Knowledge is power.
Marsh.
Power corrupts. Knowledge corrupts.
Marsh, who is a living embodiment of hemalurgy because he's got spikes sticking out of his eyes and
I thought you were going to say spikes out the ass, and I'm like, well
he could be. I have no idea.
I don't know.
He thinks,
hey, jokes, I'm back.
He thinks that hemalurgy is good since Sazed is now both ruin and preservation. I don't really track that logic.
There is no, wait, Marsh thinks that?
Yes.
No, that can't be.
I have it in my notes.
Okay, and that, hey, if Harmony is fallible, then so are your notes.
Okay.
But
well, maybe Ruin changed my notes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wants us to think this.
Yeah.
Wants us to pit us against Marsh.
I thought it was Spook who thought that hemalurgy couldn't be that bad. That seems like a very Spook line of reasoning or lack of reasoning.
I thought that Spook was more just like, the knowledge is out there. You can't keep it. Like, we should all be aware of it to, like, be able to guard against it. Something.
Spoilers for Secret History, right? But we know that Spook was being influenced by Kelsier, and that Kelsier, at the time, and still, had a vested interest in using hemalurgy
to get a body back.
To get a body back, to get his powers as a Mistborn back, to
do whatever other ends.
To survive, right?
Yeah.
Indefinitely. And hemalurgy...
And he's not the only one who's, like, wants to make themselves an allomancer or other people allomancer.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Mr. Suit, or Uncle Edwin.
Edwin.
It can make anyone into an allomancer, you see. If we don't use it, someone else will. My read of that quote was he wasn't necessarily talking about hemalurgy. I think he was talking about a little bit something different. And Mr. Suit was definitely pointedly not talking about being Mistborn. I think he was talking in general terms of, like, allomancer mistings.
Well,
but we also know from words of Brandon that future generations do have Mistborns, the ones with all the powers, don't we?
I didn't know that. I don't know. I thought it was because allomantic power sort of got diluted.
But I thought we know in future generations it becomes undiluted.
I have no idea. I was thinking more about, how do I want to say this? There are limitations on hemalurgy that are introduced in the Lost Metal.
Okay.
They wouldn't have been able to become Mistborn anyway through hemalurgy.
Okay. There are kind of some advances in the craft that we see in this, well, or at least in this era compared to the last era, that weren't necessarily pointed out in the first book.
Like the ability to give a Khandra powers.
Like ability to give Khandra powers. But also that's
a pretty big one. Also
that Wax, like, was able to learn to, like, exclude the metal that he carried when he practices allomancy. And that's not something we saw Kelsier do in Era 1. Like, that wasn't an ability. He still didn't know how he learned how to do it. This is a quote, and it was merely something that happened over time.
We're talking about the steel bubble?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Kelsier and Wax are both steel savants in different ways to different extents, right? They each have practiced with their steel enough that they can do things that break the rules as originally set out, right?
Right.
So if you think back to Era 1 and Kelsier explaining to Vin how steel works, Kelsier talks about how you can only push on the center of mass of an object, right? But in his final fight with the Steel Inquisitors, he's spinning objects around, making blades into like spinning saws, right? Using his, steel and iron powers in conjunction. How can he do that? If he can only push on the center of mass, you shouldn't be able to spin something. Well, it's because he is so practiced with his steel and his iron that he can, instead of push on the object as a whole, he is so practiced with it that he can envision it as different parts and push on the different parts.
And we know that intent
matters.
Intent matters and perception.
Yes, exactly. And so similarly with Wax, where even when he's consciously, even the ability to have that steel bubble or whatever is a kind of savantism. It's not a thing that people can normally do when they first get, powers. But he's practiced with his steel enough and, had it subconsciously going on, okay, that he can, just in the background, just be burning steel and constantly vibrating on shit, low-level pushing. And then he can also subconsciously exclude things from the things that he's subconsciously pushing on. It's a lot. And it feels, sometimes I feel conflicted about it, because we love Brandon for his hard magic systems, right? And for the way that those hard magic systems develop, where people say things that...
I don't love the complexity. I really don't.
Oh, I do.
I mean, I love the fact that it's a hard magic system, but then particularly when you have Stormlight and you have like 12 different kind of types of magical categories, and then you have to triple that with the different combinations of 3 different kinds of light. No, I do not love that level of complexity.
Well, and then when you get into like I said, when you get into savantism, and where we had talked about on a, like, the way I think about it is, like, we've got laws of motion, right? Newton's laws. One of those, one of the laws of motion is like, okay, yeah, motion is relative, where if you've got something going along at 30 miles an hour and you throw something off of it, it's going to go at 30 miles an hour plus whatever the speed you throw it off, right? Something like that. But then when you get really, 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 really fast, right, to relativistic speeds, well, the speed, there's a speed limit in the universe, and it's not just addition anymore. There's really complex calculus to figure out.
There's a terminal velocity.
Right. And
thank you, Mythbusters.
Yeah, I was about to say, and it's like, well, and when you get to relativistic speeds, they don't just add anymore. They just don't add. It's more complex.
Okay.
Sorry. That was a tangent. I'm not sorry.
Okay. I don't really want to talk about this, but I will kind of point it out for all your listeners to muse on your own about kind of how the commercialization of metallic arts changes over time. We certainly, in Era 1, we see it kind of strictly for the use of the new nobility. There are kind of those, not hit squads, but anyways.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Brute Squad from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like they've got platoons of mistings, right? The thugs, the coin shot.
And then it is more for the common-ish man in Era 2, where you can hire that cadmium misting to get you through boring meetings, or you can hire people out,
and you can go to a soothing parlor,
and you can yeah. So it gets a little bit more kind of for the public in Era 2, and we see it for more of a military use in future generations as well.
Well, and to me, that fits with the societal themes that are being explored, right? Where in Era 1, it's a feudal system, right? Where there is the emperor, right? And there are nobles, and there are peasants, and there are different rules depending on who you are, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in Era 2, it's
still true, but to a lesser extent.
Well, I was about to say, we're on the cusp. We're at the Industrial Revolution, and there are rich and poor, but we're starting to get out of feudalism and into I mean, it kind of looks like we're skipping mercantilism and going straight to capitalism.
Okay. You're getting super nerdy.
Oh, God. Okay, so it looks like we're skipping straight from where we had a feudal society where everybody was serving their lord. We're skipping the, purely colonialization aspect where, like, if you were in ancient Rome and you were a citizen there, you were a higher status compared to, even if you were a peasant there, you were a higher status compared to a peasant outside of Rome. Or if you were a British peasant, you were better than an Irish peasant, right? We're skipping that, and where the existence of the colonies exists only to prop up the mother state, right? We're sort of skipping that and going straight to capitalism.
Well, it's kind of hard to set that up when you only have one city.
Too. Well, yeah, right. Well, no, but they've got the roughs.
They do have the roughs.
Yeah. We sort of see hints of that with Elendil and New Saren, but I mean, we really don't.
I think that it's just the scale. I don't think the scale works with it. But
well, and it made sense in real Earth life where, Rome, Britain, Japan, all these, empires, they had limited resources, but they were good at killing people.
Okay,
Sorry.
Please stop making me feel bad that I didn't actually get to take a push. Let's talk about some foreshadowing, particularly of Wayne's death. There are a couple of quotes that I pulled out from this book.
I would say, I remember noting things, but I don't have them. I didn't.
That's okay. I have them. I'm good prepared. I spent hours and hours retyping these notes. Every man had to die. He'd always found it odd that so many died when they were old. As Logic said, that was the point in their lives when they'd had the most practice not dying. Classic Wayne. Kind of.
I mean, there's a logic. There's a logic there. It's not right, but there is a logic there.
Yeah. Another quote is, this is Milan talking to Wayne. You're wasted as a human. I believe that is supposed to be a compliment. I think I hope that is foreshadowing that we get to see Wayne, but I think we do get confirmation that he decides not to continue on in his existence.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
He walked into the light, and yeah, he was done.
Dun.
Contrasting kind of Kelsier. And then we have Wax's relationship with his grandmother and the Terrace people. We don't get to see a whole lot of it in this book. We get to see more later on.
Next book.
But important to note that Wax said that he spent a summer in the village and caught a terrace thief, which is very odd. They don't normally have a lot of crime in the village.
It's not allowed.
I have a quote here that says, "As no keepers had remained." I don't know if that's significant.
Well, it's about the words of founding and how Sazed was the last of the keepers, the full Feruchemists, and he was the last one who had copper mines of everything, right?
So are there no copper Feruchemists anymore?
No, I mean there are now, but I don't think they're not called keepers the same way. Let me check the.
Well, they created the keepers to keep information so that they, when the Lord Ruler's reign was over, that they would have all of this history accessible.
Yeah. Because
keepers was more of a religious term rather than a metallic arts term.
So when you're a copper Feruchemist, you're called an archivist. So a keeper is reserved for full Feruchemists.
Okay, as a keeper is like Mistborn. Okay.
Yeah.
Wax mentions on several occasions that he can see Vin. So here's a quote. Sometimes he felt like he could see her form in their patterns. And that would be in the mist patterns. So Vin took up the power of preservation. Yes. So is Vin still kind of with us?
Dead. Her body formed out of the mists at the end of Hero of Ages. Okay, she did. Many confirmed.
But is there a cognitive shadow? Because we don't know.
Secret history confirmed that she did.
But we also
don't have. She moved on. Okay. She walked into the light. We have confirmation.
Okay, but we also don't know. But there's also a growing kind of growing body of evidence that cognitive shadows are not the same things as the original people.
Right, but she held all of it of preservation, so it would just be her personality imprinted upon the shard of preservation, and she did not have it for long enough to do that.
Well, apparently there's enough of that to have a shadow of her in the midst.
I thought it was just more like when people see Jesus on a piece of toast, you know?
Okay.
I thought it was just more...
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's something more.
I don't think it doesn't need to have anything supernatural involved with it.
It's a weird thing for Brandon to put in, I think, if it wasn't on purpose. And we know that he does a lot of things on purpose. We just sometimes don't understand why for a very long time.
I'm going to look it up on the Coppermind right now.
Good luck.
Yeah, I need it.
And the whole thing with Mr. Suit.
What whole thing with Mr. Suit?
The relationship between Wax and Mr. Suit is weird. Here's a quote. "But I still love you, nephew. I keep hoping you'll see we are not your enemy. We are the thieves and the miscreants of this day who will someday be hailed as heroes." So are we supposed to read this as Suit manipulating Wax, or are we supposed to read this as foreshadowing that they will in fact be viewed as heroes in the coming generations?
I'm sorry, what?
So Mr. Suit is saying that, like, hey, like, we're not like Wax. I know you see us as the bad guys, but we're not the bad guys. We we're like the Kelsier and his gang of Era 1. Like, yeah, like technically we're breaking the law and stuff, but we're going to be viewed as heroes.
Right, but that's not that.
Like, is that what's going to happen?
No.
I think so.
No.
I think Brandon's going to do it.
Why? What? But the set in particular?
I don't know.
No, it was meant to strengthen the parallels.
How do you get from the society that we have now in Era 2 to the mega military thing that we see in Space Era?
It's not Ellendale. It's the Malwish, the Southern Scadrians.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say it's not. We're not talking about the same. We're not talking about the same society.
Okay.
It's the Malwish who are running things in Isles of the Emberdark. But there are references. There are references that the Malwish aren't the only Scadrians around, right? So it's not clear that
nothing is clear. That's pretty much
right, and that's because there's ambiguity. There's room to play in the space in the future.
I don't know. I think this is more foreshadowing than manipulation. I think
it's parallelism. I don't think it's foreshadowing. I think it's parallel. It can be both.
I didn't take AP English either.
It's not about AP English. It's about what we publish a literature podcast.
Bleeder likes to point out that Harmony claims not to interfere, but then he moves pieces. He moves us like pieces on a board. So I think this is more foreshadowing for Discord, and we're not really. We don't really get to be on the inside to see how much Harmony is actually manipulating things or not.
Harmony claims not to move not to move people, not to influence people, but he doesn't claim not to lie. So he's lying.
There's a lot. There's a lot that we don't know, and a lot that's frustrating. Okay, I have a series of questions.
For me or to ponder?
To ponder.
Okay.
Here's a good question. Would Wax get along with Vin and Elend and the rest of the crew?
The crew didn't get along with the crew. I think he would get along best with... Who do I think he'd get along with? Him is hard. Everybody gets along with him, kind of. I don't think he would like Breeze, right? Because Breeze is very... more about appearances than actual
and he doesn't
substance.
Like having his emotions toyed with at all.
Exactly, right. I don't think he would like his
Vin?
progenitor.
Do you think he would get along with Vin?
It depends on what part of the series we're talking about Vin, for sure. Because she would be immediately suspicious of him at the beginning, because she's immediately suspicious of everybody, right? And especially because he's a noble person, and I don't want to say a bully, but, she's so attuned to identifying threats and minimizing conflict from them, she would clock him as a threat right away. I think I'm trying to think, I don't think there would be at any point in the series where Vin wouldn't meet him and try to present and think of him as an I think no matter what point in Era 1 she met him, he would be something that she would try to solve or try to figure out if he's on her side or not. I think she would be very suspicious of him.
Okay.
How about you? What do you think? Do you think he would get along with Sazed pre-Ascension? I think Sazed's probably the most interesting one.
I think Sazed tries to go along with everybody pre-Ascension.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a quote here that was written pre-COVID. We could talk forever about that question, but I have a lot more good stuff to get to, and you guys can take that and talk with your other friends about it, and then you can write to us and tell us your conclusions. I have a quote here that was written pre-COVID, but really speaks to me post-COVID here. You had to adapt, move, change. That was good, but it could also threaten identity, connection, and sense of purpose. If that doesn't wrap up COVID, I don't know what does. I think that's perfect.
It's missing the sense of isolation.
Yes, but that quote kind of really stuck with me. I just want to take a moment to say, damn it, Lady Aldrian. Women constables were also expected to be models of ladylike behavior. A holdover from the old days, reinforced by the speeches of Lady Aldrian Ladrian soon after the catacondre.
Well, right. He's got, right.
Double standards.
Oh, yes.
Don't like it.
Misogyny.
They reference like book 80 verses 27 through 50, something about the most important step a man can take.
Wait, what? Really? What? Huh? Oh, because that is a stormlight.
That's a stormlight thing.
That's a stormlight
So
thing.
I don't know what's going on there. It's something to be on the lookout for. I really don't have anything else to discuss on that because I'm just like, what? We mentioned this, but there is a mysterious metal that Palm used as her spike. We assume that that's a metal from a different god.
Well, this is our spoiler. We've lost everybody who doesn't already. Yes, that's Trellium, baby.
It's a silvery metal with dark spots.
And when Palm is spiked with it, she is free from Harmony's influence. You might say that she's autonomous.
Yes, because Trell is
an avatar of autonomy.
An avatar of autonomy. Remember that Trell is the name of the god that the guy who was executed at the end of the last book, that he was praying to Trell or something, mentioned Trell's name.
And it's also like the stinger at the end of this book. Who or what is Trell? Dun dun dun.
In the Arcanum Unbounded section of the book.
You mean Ars Arcanum?
Yes, I can't read. And the Ars, I did write it correctly, Ars Arcanum. The name of the person who writes the Ars Arcanum in World, her name is Chris. So she writes Twinborn. Not just 2 powers, you could say, but 2 powers and an effect.
A resonance.
And that is the in-world vocab, correct?
Yeah.
I think we get more into that in the later books because I don't really...
The next one.
I don't really remember what this means. Did I tell you that I have trouble with this era too? Thing in understanding any of it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about Stormlight all day long and the implications, and I remember all of this stuff, but Era 2, I have trouble. Okay, just to wrap it up, because I just yawned. Yeah, but also because I only have 2 more notes, and I'm sure people who are used to listening to the Cosmere episodes are like, aren't you going to talk about Hoyd? Not a whole lot. Hoyd did make an appearance in this book. He was the carriage driver who takes Wax and Wayne to the police station after they hear there's been an assassination attempt. It is when that is also the carriage ride that Wax chooses to put the earring in and talk to Harmony. So Hoyd is definitely within hearing range with his special abilities to kind of listen into that conversation.
And don't forget, reader, listener, watcher, whatever, Hoyd is a Mistborn by this point. Yeah. He's also been exchanging correspondence with Harmony. He arrived at Scadrial at Harmony's request.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And like he's very much an influence on how, on why Wax is in the position that Wax is in, right? As Harmony's sword. Like that's...
And to kind of reiterate that point kind of from a different lens, we know that Hoyd is around enough because Wayne knows his name.
Yes.
But is still kind of described as the new coachman.
Yes, right. And so we see, connecting the dots, we see the correspondence between Harmony and Hoyd and the epigraphs of, I forget what Words of Radiance or Oathbringer, or I think both. But yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
The next couple books of Era 2 are the Cosmere implications are going to be much longer, in depth, and far-reaching.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for podcasting with me.
Yeah. I want to take a moment to say happy 2 years of the podcast.
Right. My goodness.
We can celebrate more when we get to because in our
2 years or 1 year?
2 years. We did a whole episode last year about 1 year of the Cosmere Casual, and this is 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies. We did have a little bit of a break this year, so we
fair.
didn't really get to like 50, because we did 27 episodes, numbered episodes in the first year, so that would be 4. So we haven't gotten to episode 54 yet, but maybe we can celebrate when we get to 54. I don't know.
Well, but same, we've got, we've had a few, unplanned ones in there, like our Akatar review episode. I think that one still might be my favorite out of the ones that I've edited. We talked about the Raven Tower. We talked about how the fandom is, ourselves.
I kind of want to talk about Skyward series.
Oh, okay. Let's add that to the list.
It's really good.
Yeah. Well, it's B-Money.
It is B-Money. We should probably find some other ones.
All right. Thanks for podcasting with me.
Thanks for podcasting with me.
Yeah. Our social media handle and email address is cosmerecasual, cosmerecasual@gmail.com. Our intro and outro music is licensed through Tribe of Noise. The song is Odyssey and the artist is Ketsa.
And until next time, keep your wits about you.